Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of WRAL Triangle and Two. I am Luis Fernandez. He is Mark Bergin. The NCAA tournament at this time of recording is done for the women and for the men. There's only one game left to go. Unfortunately, the Wolfpack are not involved. Mark, both the men's and women's teams, their magic ran out, we'll say, in the Final Four. What was your initial thoughts watching everything unfold this weekend?
It's sinking in today that the Wolfpack would be playing for a championship against UConn. We've got the eclipse today, and it's just like, man, so close. But if you want to keep this into full perspective, I still think everyone else is playing for second place against UConn.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens tonight, UConn against Purdue, but I think UConn is going to run away with it and be back-to-back national champions, Lewis.
Which, I mean, Mark, that would be the first time that's happened since 06-07 with Florida. And really, that was like when I was looking at bracket stuff and things like that before this tournament started, that was one of my main reasons not to go with UConn, is that it hasn't happened in so long. But the Huskies have truly been one of the best teams all season. The way they've retooled, the way Dan Hurley continues to find every little grievance and uses it to his advantage. Whether it be the airports or whatever. The Huskies just getting it done, and I think it's going to be, assuming they do end up beating Purdue. Wow, what a couple of years it's been for UConn.
And we'll see what happens tonight's game. Lewis, with this NC State team, heck of a run.
Yeah.
You see the love that they have, but both going out to Arizona for the NCAA tournament and then coming back, even though they weren't victorious. The first time they had gone to a Final Four since 1983. They salvaged Kevin Keatts' job, 9 straight wins to close out the season. And just what a remarkable run it was for the Wolfpack. And just came up short. I mean, really, for me, that Final Four matchup against Purdue came down to 3 things. And Zach Edey, not getting him off his spot, not getting him off the block. He played all 40 minutes, posted a double-double, 20 points, 12 rebounds. To me, it was also neutralizing DJ Horne on the offensive end. So you had that part of it. Other than DJ Horne, I really thought State struggled to score because Burns is neutralized. Casey Morsell didn't score. He's your 4th leading scorer. And then Jaden Taylor was your only other double-digit scorer other than DJ Horne. So it's like it's tough to win a game when you only score 50 points, going up against the Naismith Player of the Year back-to-back in Zach Edey. There's a reason he has an NBA future. I'm not going to say he's going to be a superstar. I won't go that far. But I'm very curious tonight to see what can he do against a loaded UConn team. By the time people are listening or watching this, we'll probably know the result of that game in the national title game, Lewis. But you're playing with house money with the Wolfpack, man. There's nothing to be ashamed about, nothing to be mad about. I'm rambling at this point. Hop in here, Lewis.
No. I think that's fair, and I agree on all parts, right? I mean, DJ Burns said it after the game. He wished he would have done a better job at keeping Zach Edey from going to his right hand. We talked about it a little bit earlier this week on WRAL, just like even the massive size difference there between Edey and Burns. Like you see DJ Burns, like, wow, it's a big guy. Like, he's super tall. Okay, great. But like Zach Edey, according to the rosters, weighs more and is about 7 inches taller than DJ Burns.
He's massive, man. He's just a big dude.
And I think it was Kevin Keatts said it after the game that the defense that NC State had played with all tournament, it traveled. It was there with them in that Final Four. They, obviously Purdue won, but they were held well below their season average from a scoring perspective. So defensively that was there. Offensively, they did not bring that along. And I think you saw a little bit more of what we kind of were used to when it comes to NC State in the regular season, where they would have these spurts of just not scoring. And that was one of the things that NC State was really succeeding at in the postseason was efficient and much needed buckets. When they needed a 3, that's where you had like Michael O'Connell. When they needed something to happen inside, that's where you had DJ Burns, and then and he kicks it out to DJ Horne or whatever it might be. So now I'd like to ask you this, Mark. Okay.
Yeah, because I have questions for you too, Lewis, but go
So
first.
I think there's always this kind of interesting way to look at a tournament run or postseasons in general in sports, right? It's you win a championship or nothing, title or bust. When you look at this NC State run, do you label it a massive success, or is there an asterisk on it in your mind because they did not win a title? You go first, and I'll include what I have to say.
I go with a massive success because the reality of this situation was, had State gotten bounced early in the ACC tournament, whether it be to Louisville, whose coach got fired after that game, was it the Tuesday or Wednesday? They played on the very first day of the
They did.
ACC
It
tournament
was
in
Tuesday.
the five wins in 5 days. If you lose in that first game against Louisville or the second game that you play, Kevin Keatts probably doesn't have a job with the NC State Wolfpack beyond this current season. So I see it as a massive success. You make your first Final Four since 1983. To be able to rally when you enter the ACC tournament, having lost 4 straight games, and to awaken a fan base that's been wanting something like this for so long. We'll talk a little bit about what this roster is going to look like next season here in a second, Lewis. But
Sure.
to me, it's a success considering what you expected going into the ACC tournament. Lewis, all season long on this podcast, we barely talked about the Wolfpack because
there was no reason to.
Short of winning the ACC tournament, they weren't going to play in the big tournament, in the big dance.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were not on the bubble. They were several bubbles away going into the ACC tournament. And so, yeah, I agree. I think that it's easy to look at sports and say, okay, yes, win or lose, those are the only options. And not to call this a moral victory for State by any means like that. I think that's also a little bit absurd. But I think just when you compare historically what State has done, over the past 4 decades, having this kind of moment, it's big. It will forever be ingrained in the minds of NC State fans. I mean, I imagine, right? Like, I mean, I don't want to try and speak out of turn here, but I imagine, right, for NC State fans, over the past 4 decades, 83 is the number 1 moment. And then I would say this run would be number 2 for sure.
Maybe 74. We're not old enough to
since
be
83, since that 83 title. So I mean, I think that's I just it's about the moments, that the memories that you create, not to get sappy, but I think that's a big part of it.
What was your favorite moment of the Wolfpack's run, Lewis?
Ooh, I would say so. I think there are a couple of easy options. I think I might be picking the easiest one here. I would say the star power of DJ Burns, to kind of put like a all-encompassing type thing. I thought it was really cool how these NC State players became central figures in the NCAA tournament. And I think you can make the argument that DJ Burns was the star of the NCAA tournament. The way he was just every year, there's always a couple of players who people gravitate towards. And DJ Burns, the way he had success, the way he acted on the court, nothing but smiles, just, complete joy in the game that he was playing in the moment. I think it's very rare for just people in general to take that much joy in the present. And so DJ Burns' stardom is mine. What about you, Mark?
I'll go with the Michael O'Connell 3 in the ACC semifinal against Virginia. Off a missed free throw, you bank in a 3 to send it into overtime. And it was like, you take care of business against Virginia, which was a tournament team. And then, you beat Duke, you beat Virginia. You have to play UNC in the final. You still have to win that game to make it. And to think back of, that's really what kind of ignited the spark with this run, where it was like, oh my gosh, they're now a game away from making the tournament. And then they went on a Final Four run. So to me, that would be, you do a win-play show. That would be the winner. I'm with you with DJ Burns. Personally, too, I loved after that first round game in the tournament, after they beat Texas Tech, and there were the reports that NC State eats ice cream in the locker room, and the post-game one-on-one with CBS Evan Washburn, when he says, gives DJ Burns the ice cream, and he's like, thanks. And he just hands it to someone else as soon as the interview is over. There was a little bit too much thought process going into the production of that.
Trying to do too much on that one.
Yeah. I personally, just because I'm petty and a little bit weird, Lewis, I love that part too. But DJ Burns' star power, definitely. I mean, DJ Horn, the way he played
Really
throughout
cool.
the tournament run.
Raleigh kid.
Yeah, I mean, and he showed up in the Final Four game. I just wish he could have gotten a little bit of help in that Final Four game because he was ready to go. He was putting the ball in the hoop. It was just the Wolfpack needed another score, and Jaden Taylor was the only other player in double digits for the Wolfpack. He just needed a little bit of help. The run he went on in the whole why not us mentality, it falls short of a title. But considering what the expectations were for pretty much everyone outside of the program, everyone not in that locker room, it was really inspiring, man. Like, that's a life lesson that you can take with you moving forward, even beyond outside of sports.
Yeah, I think that, there's not only one team can win a championship in a league in a season, right? And there are plenty of people whose favorite teams have never won championships. And I think that when you look at the moments that still stand out to you, like you still have those little snippets of absolute joy that you get, even if your team does not win championships. And so I don't know. It's definitely not, I think it's exciting, and it's a run that a lot of people are going to remember for a very long time. Did you have any other questions before we move on to NC State women?
I do. And this might be the dumbest question I've asked you in the history of Triangle and Two.
That's saying something.
You do not know that this is coming either. Is there any chance Bronny James transfers to one of the Triangle schools?
Oh, it's very random. I don't know, man. I couldn't even begin to tell you. I think, I think that with Bronny, I think that we sometimes look over the fact that he had a major heart problem like a few months ago before the season started, and that impacted how he played, who he is, how he prepared, all of that stuff. I can't even imagine what he has went through from that perspective. Also, the pressure that comes with just being LeBron James Jr. I think if Bronny can come in and be like a nice kind of like piece to a puzzle, if his way to success in the NBA is to be a 3-and-D guy. And so if he can come in and be a piece to a puzzle for a good team, I'm sure that would be great. I think that there's so much that comes with just LeBron James Jr. coming to your school. I think there's a lot more to it than just the on-court stuff, for better or worse. So I don't know. I mean, also you have to remember too, right? Like, part of the reason why Bronny was at USC is just because, LeBron plays in LA. I know that he's going to go through the draft process and have the ability to come back and then enter the transfer portal. I don't know. I'd be curious because, like, I think that a lot of people kind of view Bronny as, oh, he's not LeBron, so that means he's not good, blah, blah, blah. No, he's just a different kind of player. And so if you put that hat on, and you put those glasses on, those Eclipse glasses, and view the situation like that, and I think it kind of changes the way you view Bronny and the possibility of him coming to an ACC team in the Triangle.
I think Duke is too stacked. I don't know if Jeremy Roach will be back. Tyrese Proctor, also question mark there. Caleb Foster, also, is he coming back? I'd imagine Jared McCain will go pro. So Duke, I'd say probably not. You've got a loaded class with Cooper Flagg and company. NC State, not sure it's high profile enough. There's a need there, just considering DJ Horn, DJ Burns, Casey Morsell. Their careers are over. But UNC, Lewis. UNC. And, okay, RJ Davis, I don't think he'll be back. He could come back, but he's the ACC Player of the Year. He's going to have a worse roster. He was a finalist for the Naismith Award. Like, how much better could RJ Davis play at the collegiate level to improve his draft stock?
And that's something that's going to continue. I'm sorry.
Well, so if it's Elliot Cadeau show to run and maybe Harrison Ingram is back, Baycott's out of eligibility along with Cormac Ryan, Tar Heels?
Yeah, I mean, and they've got a good class coming in too, but it's
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that like technically, if you wanted to look at it like that, but it's gonna be interesting because there's just where RJ Davis, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe RJ Davis, like his class is like the last group that can use that COVID year.
Hmm.
So we're gonna be entering a territory here that we've never really seen before, where you have these players who are seniors who have been in school for quite some time already and have known that this opportunity, this moment would be coming. This isn't like with Armando Bacot where everything happens and then like a year later he's like, oh, could I use my COVID year? Yeah, I guess I could. Like, RJ Davis has known this is going to be happening for a while now. This would be a possibility. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he and other players across the country react to this opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense, just at least from a numbers perspective. But a lot of change in the triangle when it comes to men's college ball.
Let's also take away Kentucky because Cal's now going to Arkansas.
Reportedly, allegedly, he was walking his dog and he didn't have any comment. Did you see that this morning? He was pushing his dog in a stroller down the highway, and he was like, "Why are you talking to me?"
Shout
about
out to whoever that Kentucky reporter is that got that B-roll in that video. He deserves a raise, Luis Fernandez.
Also, no, can you imagine? Can you imagine if you were because like John, like imagine being John Calipari, and like even in that situation, you could not catch me walking my dog in a stroller outside where a bunch of cars are driving in this moment. I would need to wait till everything was official. Like that's not what I'm trying to do.
So you're going to be in your home in your bunker, Luis, in the same situation.
There's a disconnect there, but
I love this.
I don't know.
We can go to the NC State women if you'd like.
Let's go ahead and wrap up here with the NC State women who did lose in the Final Four to South Carolina. And as we saw on Sunday, South Carolina ended up winning the whole shebang and was undefeated. So I don't think there's any I don't think there's any kind of shame in losing to this South Carolina team the way they did.
Luis, you're in my brain, and Dawn Staley, take this outside of just women's basketball, one of the best coaches in all of sports right now.
Agreed.
And to figure out a way to make adjustments after Caitlin Clark came out in that game shooting hot. She had 18 in the first quarter.
Wow.
And to figure out how to slow her down throughout the course of that game and to get the freshmen going and to finish what they couldn't complete a year ago, kudos to them. And then with State in that Final Four matchup on Friday night, it's just a third quarter that didn't go their way to where South Carolina just came out guns blazing, if you will, just really, really hot. And that third quarter to me was the difference in that Final Four game when what was pretty close at halftime. So no shame in losing to the champion, an undefeated champion, if you will, too. And then just what they were able to do against the best player in the history of the sport and Caitlin Clark. I mean, like, if you're able to do that against her, you deserve to win the title. No shame in losing to the team that was able to do that. And kudos to South Carolina Gamecocks.
Yeah. Well, and I look at the run that the NC State women's went on to. They not as bad as NC State men's, but they were in a similar situation towards the end of the year where they were a little bit up and down. They were struggling. They weren't playing great necessarily. And then come the ACC tournament, they turn it on, get all the way to the title game, losing to, a future star, if not already a star, in Hannah Hidalgo in Notre Dame. And then, play the way they do in the NCAA tournament, playing pretty comfortably and well in their home site, beating, who was it they played? Stanford, and then beating Texas, ending Cameron Brink's career at Stanford. It's very impressive what Westmore and company did. And I think when you look at it too, right, they are losing Sanaya Rivers, not Sanaya Rivers, excuse me. They're losing River Baldwin. Thinking of the wrong river there. Losing River Baldwin. They're losing Mimi Collins. So they're definitely going to have some pieces there, but they bring back Sanaya Rivers, Isaiah James, I believe. I don't believe Isaiah James entered the NBA draft or anything like that, WNBA draft. Zoe Brooks, Maddie Hayes.
So can you get it done? Because this was the first time under Westmore you've gone to a Final Four.
Yeah.
Can you take this experience and get the job done next season? That's what we're looking at. And look, first time he's been in a Final Four since he took over at NC State in 2013. So, I mean, having both teams in the Final Four, it's like,
Yeah, it's rare.
Move over, UConn. Raleigh, North Carolina is now the mecca of college basketball.
UConn, I think people forget too. UConn was there too this year. They had men's and women's in the Final Four too this year. But yeah, no, I think NC State Triangle women's basketball is going to be super interesting next year. If I may get on my soapbox really quick, Triangle women's basketball is going to be super interesting. Whether it be NC State and that all those leaders and scorers that they have returning, if they can just get some pieces, in the front court to kind of complement all the different guard play they've got. Kara Lawson and Duke has some potentially very good players coming in, as well as a lot of returners because how young that team was. And then, of course, from the perspective of UNC, reportedly Deja Kelly is entering the transfer portal, so that's big, and that's the kind of feels there might be some pressure on UNC to perform next season as well. There's going to be a lot of really interesting storylines for all of college basketball, particularly the women in the Triangle next year.
Yeah, and we will have all that information on WRALSportsFan.com about what you need to know with the transfer portal. NC State, the men's got some help there. Lewis, it's Masters Week too, so yes, we're bummed about the Wolfpack. Yes, we've got a very late tip in tonight's national title game, UConn and Purdue. But Thursday,
absurdly late tip, absurdly late. Just continue.
I don't disagree, but the glass half full perspective for the listeners and the viewers of WRAL Triangle and Two is come Thursday, Augusta, Georgia, Masters Week. It is going to be glorious. The springtime is here. You get all of the greenery. I can't wait for this weekend. It's like one of the best weekends coming off the national championship, and then you get just the best of all the majors when it comes to golf. Spring's here, man. I'm excited. Like, I cannot wait. I'm bummed about the Wolfpack, but the Masters, it's going to be a nice consolation prize for us.
2 Masters-related shout-outs. One, Wake Forest's own, like Wake Forest is in like the, neighborhood outside of Raleigh, Wake Forest, not the university. Akshay Bhatia. He won the Valero Texas Open, his second ever PGA Tour win. And in doing that on Sunday, he has qualified for the Masters. So he'll be there. Battled through a shoulder injury where he popped his shoulder out celebrating, forcing a playoff. It was wild, man. It was, if you were not watching the Valero Texas Open on WRAL on Sunday, you were missing out. And then, of course, so that's going to be interesting. We'll have more on his journey coming up here this week. Also, second shout out, just pimento cheese in general. Good stuff. It's good stuff. I just wanted to make sure I got that out there, Mark.
Yeah, if you bring $20 to the Masters, you can load up on all the different assortments. And it's like, how do you best spend $20? And it's a trick question, really. You bring a $50 bill to get all the delights that you might need in Augusta. I've never been. I would love to go one day, but the fact that you can't have your phone either, to me, just sounds very liberating and freeing as well. I can't wait for Thursday. If you can't tell already, I'm very, very excited. Like, I'm not willing to wish my life away, Luis Fernandez, but I am counting down the minutes between now and then.
Nice. Well, that is going to do it for us here on WRAL Triangle and Two. I'm Luis Fernandez. He's Mark Bergin. You can catch us wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you leave a 5-star review. You can also catch us on the 99.9 The Fan YouTube page or on WRALSportsFan.com in the Watch Now section. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next week.